Dr. Olivia. My name is Crem, and I'm the Director of Fitness. And thank you for joining me for today's Mastering Form workout. The Mastering Form workout series is meant to show you the fundamentals, the basics behind basically some of your favorite exercises or exercises you may have either done before or maybe exercises that you want to try, but you really want to make sure that you're doing them properly. So that's what the Mastering Form exercise series is all about. Making sure that you go through exercises properly so that way you can do them more safely. So for today's workout, what we're going to kind of go through is we're going to go through some chest exercises, primarily utilizing a bench or a flat surface, as well as some back exercises. Chest and back sometimes are movements or about parts of the body that we tend to overlook at times, but they're super important to engage in because it helps with involving your push and pull routine. So if you think about it, every time you either pull something or you push something, not only are you engaging your arms and your shoulders, but your chest and your back muscles play a huge role in that. So it's really important to develop those areas and to do exercises that really help to get those areas strong and just to help with the overall development and the strength of the body. So we're going to work on a couple of some of my favorite exercises today, just to kind of go through and give you some varieties to maybe add to your routine or maybe kind of try something new. So before we get started, I always recommend, if you have not participated in this exercise series before, always check with your physician just to make sure it's okay to work out. Have some water with you, and we're gonna go through and just kind of take this step by step as far as some of the benefits of doing these exercises and just some things to look out for, as well as some things that you can modify if you feel like you might need to make some adjustments. So we'll take our time and go through it. Since I am going to be using a bench, if you don't have a bench, a big exercise ball can be helpful too. An ottoman, okay, something that is kind of firm. You can also do these on the floor too. So don't feel like you have to have a bench. A bench is great, but you can absolutely do these on the floor if you need to. And I'm going to use some dumbbells, but if you don't have dumbbells, cans work well, water bottles work well. You can even do these exercises with kettlebells, so there's some variations and the different type of equipment. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, we're going to do chest first, but we're going to work on what's called an incline, like a flat dumbbell press with a fly. When you think about the word press, it's just the way it sounds. It's when you're pressing something. You're pressing it away from your body. But we're going to incorporate a press with a fly. So we're going to give it a little bit of a twist. When you're doing an exercise like a dumbbell press or a dumbbell fly, you're going to work not only the upper part of the chest area, but you're going to work the sides as well. So if you're looking here, this is a good area to develop, because if you feel like you've got some loose skin kind of there and you want to kind of tighten that area, doing chest exercises like these are really helpful and beneficial for that. And again, it helps to build that overall strength. Okay, so we're going to start with that one first. So I want my bench, since I am using that, I want a flat bench to work on. I don't want any type of incline with this one yet. And when it comes to choosing your resistance, your dumbbells, if you've not done these exercises before, I always recommend starting light. So, whatever that is for you, just making sure that you start light, because form is first and foremost. You'll get stronger. You can always add weight, but you want to make sure you're doing proper form. So using a lighter weight is definitely something I would recommend. Now, when I'm starting with this exercise, I want to make sure that, and I'm going to show you while I'm sitting up and while I'm sitting back, okay? Now, you can have it to where your feet are on the floor. Some people find if you have tension in your lower back, you may want to elevate your feet, okay? Because this will sort of take some of that pressure off the lower back. But for viewing purposes, I'm going to have my feet down. Now, when I'm doing a fly, all right, or a dumbbell chest fly, I want to think about, I'm going to give a big hug. I want my arms to be in a circular position, and I want my elbows going this way. When I come out, I want that bend in my elbows, and my elbows are going straight down. I don't want my elbows going back towards the wall. They're straight down towards the floor. And I want to make sure the dumbbells, or whatever I'm using, are right above my chest. I don't want them high up on my head. I don't want them too high on my shoulders. I want them lined up with where my chest muscles are, and I'm going to circle out. So we're going to focus just on the fly for now. And I'm squeezing my chest muscles together. Now remember, I said this was also a press and a fly. So what we're doing here is we're going to fly in, circle in, and we bring those elbows down past the body. We press up, we fly in, and we bring them down, and we press up. Now, incorporating the press really begins to target the muscles a little bit differently. I'm still getting chest, but with the pressing, I'm getting a little bit more of the higher part of the chest, and I'm pressing. Now, let me show you this sitting up, because sometimes the view is a little bit tough to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. So, if I'm sitting up, so just pretend that I'm lying down. It doesn't change whether I'm sitting up, standing, or if I'm lying down with this position. So my arms are just, again, like I'm making a big circle. It's just like I'm giving someone a big hug and I'm just wrapping my arms around them, right? Notice where my elbows are. My elbows are straight out to the side. I don't want my elbows in the down direction, so I don't want them going down towards the floor. I want them to go straight out to the side and go behind me like this. I also want to make sure that my hands, the dumbbells, are not too high. If they're too high, then I tend to put too much pressure on the shoulders. And that's not the area that I really want to focus on too much. So that hand position is key. So to do that, I'm going to bring my arms down. So notice now my hands are really level with my chest muscles here. Okay, so not here, too high, here, that's where I want to be. Now when I'm making that circle, I'm circling out, and I just want to circle just enough to where I feel a nice stretch here in that chest area. We don't want to overextend because that puts too much pressure on the shoulders, okay? So we don't want to do that. So just enough to where I feel that stretch. All right, I'm circling. That's my fly, all right? That's my dumbbell fly. Now, when I'm doing the press, just to kind of show you what that looks like, I'm here. I'm circling in, my hands come together, then my elbows come back towards my body in tight, and I press, and I circle, and in, press. And that press movement really hones in on the upper part of the chest, okay? So I'm circling, I'm doing my fly, and I press. And even if you have no weight, like with no resistance in your hands, you still want to really focus on squeezing the muscles. So remember, the dumbbell fly, the chest press is operating and really functioning these muscles in this area, here, and also in different parts of the chest area of the body. So fly, let's do that. Press, we fly, and we press. Now, let's say, for instance, you were doing this on the floor, and you're like, okay, Crem, I'm doing it on the floor, but my elbows can only go so far because the floor is behind me. That's okay, all right? So don't feel like this won't be as effective on the floor if you need it to be. So it's the exact same thing. Another key, just a little tip that I want to bring up about when you're doing a chest press or a chest fly is to keep the chest elevated. And what I mean by that is what you want to avoid doing when you're lying on the bench or if you're lying on the floor or standing even is slouching when you do it. If I start this way where my posture isn't in line, or even if I'm not necessarily, my posture's in line, but let's say for instance I'm lying on the bench and my shoulders are forward like this, if you can see the difference, then when I'm doing that fly or that press, a lot of the work is happening with my shoulder muscles. And I don't want to do that. I don't want too much tension on my shoulders. So it's important to make sure that I am keeping my chest up. All right, so it's a difference between this right here versus this, okay? So just focus on that. That's something I always like to remember when I'm doing a chest fly, a chest press, or anything with the chest, is to make sure that chest is elevated and my shoulders are back. So let's kind of do that again. Let's kind of, now since we broke down some of the form there, I've got my dumbbells in my hand, I'm lined up above my shoulders in proper position, my elbows are out to my side, and I'm flying, and I'm pressing. Flying, press, fly, and press, fly, and press. There we go. So with that fly, you're going to really feel it on the outside of the chest muscles and squeezing the middle part of the chest muscles. And with that press, you're really going to get a lot of the upper part of that chest muscle. Okay, good work there. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to go to an incline dumbbell chest press. Now, an incline dumbbell chest press is really good because it really hones in a lot on the upper part of the chest area. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, do I really need to work on my chest? Why is it important to work on my chest? But it's not just about feeling like, not just about thinking, okay, I don't want to get big muscles in my chest. I don't need them. Or I'm a girl. I don't need to do that. Developing your chest is crucial for upper body strength in general. So think about when, if you just need to push yourself up off the floor, okay? Or you need to push away something, or you need to grab something. Your chest is engaged in those movements. So just the basic functions that you do daily, having your chest involved in developing your chest muscles are really important. So it's not just for the guys, it's also for the girls too. So, all right, so next thing was that chest press, but we're gonna do it from an incline position. Now with incline, we wanna be at about a 45-degree angle. Now, there's times when the bench is higher, when you're doing incline press for different reasons and different ways to feel it in different parts of the chest. But we're going to put our benches at about a 45-degree angle. Now, if you find that, let's say for instance, you don't have a bench that can incline or decline, or let's say you're doing them on the floor. A way to modify that is to put some pillows behind you. Put something that's not too soft, that can give you a way to lie down, but something at a little bit of a angle. Okay, so maybe it's a couch pillow, not necessarily a bed pillow, to put behind you, just to elevate you a little bit there. So make sure your bench is secure or whatever you're using. All right, now same rules apply in the sense of where my arms are positioned. Now, with a chest press versus a fly, the difference is my elbows now are down towards the floor. Before, they were towards the floor, but they were going out this way, right? This time, they're straight down towards the ground. Straight down towards the ground, okay? They're not going to be going out to the sides. Same thought, though, when it comes to where should the dumbbells or the pieces of equipment that you're using. We want it to be chest. I'm going to start here. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip, okay? This is something I always think about when I'm using free weights, when I'm doing something that involves pushing away from my body, is always start with it towards your body. So, let's just say, for instance, dumbbells are on the floor. That's not abnormal. I'm going to pick them up, get them to my legs, especially as let's say, for instance, if your dumbbells are getting heavy, go from the floor to the legs. Anchor yourself. Then, let's just say, for instance, if they're heavy, you kick them back to bring them up towards you. Always bring them to you first, okay? So what I mean by that is you don't want to bring them up from the floor and then bring them into that routine. What happens is there's a lot of undue strain on the different joints that you have in this area, and you really want to be very careful about that. So I'm really a big fan of bringing them to my body first before I set up the move, okay? So let's do that. Let's kind of start from there. So I lift them up, right? They're not too heavy, so that's okay. I can just lean back. They're still close to my body. Get my arms in position, then I'm ready to go. All right. Now, I'm making a 90-degree angle between my forearm and my shoulders. Here, my elbows are straight back, and I'm going to go ahead and press up and bring them down. Press up and bring them down. Now, what I want to do is, just like I said before, I want to keep my chest up. I don't want to roll those shoulders forward, because remember, we don't want undue tension on the shoulders. So I'm keeping my shoulders behind me, is what I like to think about. And I'm pressing and squeezing. right? I've got that 90-degree angle. So sometimes what happens when we're doing a chest press or an incline press is we tend to do this, right? We begin to collapse the angle here. So you've got to keep that angle 90 degrees. Press. There we go. Press. And what I'm squeezing is the upper part of my chest muscles. So if I was doing these while I'm standing, same rules apply. This is what it looks like if I was standing. Right? And I'm going to face this way because this gives you a really good view. And I'm pressing. 90 degrees, pressing. All right, so that's what it looks like whether you're lying on the floor or you're on a bench. And you should get a really nice sort of tightness that builds up here and a tightness that builds up here when you're doing your chest routine. Okay, so great. So just remember, bring them to your body, 90 degrees, elbow straight down. We're pressing, pressing, pressing. Okay. Now the good thing is when you're doing your chest routines, you can also do these with bands too. All right. So especially if you got the bands that have the anchor that you can put in the door, those work great. So you can do those same movements with resistance bands that have the handles on them. So there's some variety that you can do there. All right. Good. So we got a dumbbell chest press. We have an incline dumbbell chest press. We have a chest press with a fly. So we've got some really good exercises we can build on from the chest standpoint. Let's work on the back, because remember, we said we're going to do some push. Now we're going to work on the pull. Okay, so with our back exercises, we're going to start off with row. We don't need the bench for this one quite yet, so we're going to put this to the side. And when it comes to your back exercises, there's a lot of muscles that are back there. There's quite a few, and there's some big muscles back there. So they're really important for things like posture, for balance, and again, pulling. When we pull, we think we're, a lot of times we think, okay, we're doing it mostly with our arms, and yes, our arms obviously are involved with pulling movements, but a lot of it comes from back, okay, the muscles that are back there. So you really want to have a strong back, and again, for posture, balance, stability, okay, so it's really important to make sure you're working your back exercises, and there are a ton of different ones you can do. So this one is like a dual row or a dual dumbbell row, which means we're going to be using both hands. So I'm going to use the dumbbells. Again, if you're new to this exercise, lightweight. Again, you can use kettlebells with these. You can use cans, water bottles, but we're going to use some dumbbells with them today. When I'm standing, I want to have a slight bend in my knees. Okay, so this is a slight bend. I'm not squatted down, just slightly here. And I'm going to hinge at the hips. So that way my chest can go down towards the floor. My palms are up or up sort of away from my body. So they're not this way, they're here, okay? And I want to keep my spine neutral. So I don't want my neck drop down. I don't want my neck flare all the way up, just a nice neutral spine. And I'm going to think of my hands like hooks. That's just one of those little tips that I always think about with when I'm using my back exercises or doing back, is to think of my hands as hooks. I don't want a lot of pressure on my forearms or my front of my arms, okay? So if I squeeze too hard, I'll get a lot of tension here. So I don't want to do that. So I think of my hands as just hooks to what I'm using. So slight bend, hinging at the hips, palms are out, and I'm pulling. And what I'm thinking about, everyone thinks about something different when they're doing this row, is I'm squeezing a piece of fruit in between my shoulder blades. I want my elbows to come straight up, okay? So I don't want them, I want to come really where it's natural for me. And that's going to depend on the flexibility in your shoulders as to how far your shoulders can go up. And what I mean by that is, let's say for instance, your range of motion with this is just to here, okay? That's as far as your shoulders will allow. That's okay. Don't try to force it to here if your shoulders won't let you. So really work within that really safe range of motion for you. So, hands are here. Slight bend. My shoulders will allow for me to go about right here. And my back is engaged. My core is tight. So if I'm facing you, I'm right there. I'm squeezing. Even if my hands are barely holding on, right? Like I said, it's hooks. I'm nice and light here. I'm here. Now, let's say, for instance, you've got challenges in your lower back, and bending down or holding that position really is cranky here for you. It just doesn't feel good, okay? That's okay. You can definitely do this more from a floor position and really get that same feel and movement. You'll be here on all fours, that tabletop position, and I'm just going to do one arm at a time. I'm bringing my arm right there. So same movement, less tension on my lower back, okay? And I would just alternate. I would just go, do my right and then do my left. So you can absolutely modify that. Now, you can also, let's say, for instance, if you wanted to stay standing, you wanted to say, okay, Crem, I want to focus on one arm at a time, you can do that too. You can go here and here and here and here. But this is a dual row, so that's why we're working both. Okay, core tight, right there. And I'm squeezing. There we go. Squeezing that fruit, nice and tight, neutral spine, and done. Good. All right, so next thing we're going to do is an incline row. So we're going to stay on the back. This is where we need the bench again. Okay, so we're going to keep the bench at about a 45-degree angle. Turn around this way for you. Now, if you happen to be doing this with a bench, you want to, again, just make sure it's one that you feel really good about. Give yourself some space with this one because you're going to be lying completely flat and back. Well, not flat, but backwards. So, on here, I want to have my legs straight and I want to engage my body. So, I don't want to really be too limp on the bench. I want to sit up, but not too far up, okay? So nice and neutral. My dumbbells, I got those here. And I want to make sure, again, starting with something light, if I've not done this before. When I start from here and I row, I want to, again, make sure that my core is engaged, meaning I don't want a lot of tension on my lower back. So my chest is here, it's relaxed. And I'm thinking about pushing my core, my belly, through the bench as I row. So as I pull, I'm pushing my core through the bench. This will help me with not having too much tension on my lower back. Okay? Now just to show you from the other angle what that looks like. So right here for you. Okay, so body straight, everything is good to go. Again, I'm not super high. I don't want tension on my lower back, but I'm also not relaxing. I'm not taking a nap, right? I'm sitting up. My arms are here, starting out right where my shoulders are naturally, and I'm going to row. Okay? Row. And I'm squeezing my belly into the bench. Still squeezing that fruit in between my shoulder blades. And row. Row. There we go. Again, that natural position of where the shoulders can go. If they can't go all the way up here, don't worry about it. So wherever your range of motion naturally for your shoulders can go. And I want to make sure too, my elbows aren't flared out, okay? Keep your elbows close to the body. That's something that we tend to forget sometimes when we're doing rows. Now, let's say for instance, you don't have a bench, but you want to do this, sort of like that incline row. You can change that by your body's position if you're standing, but again, if you've got lower back challenges, that's going to be a little bit tweaky. So I would say only do this one when you've got a bench to actually use it with. Okay, perfect. Now, again, if we're here, natural position of where the shoulders can go, no matter what, whether it's on the bench or standing up. All right, we did it. We went through some mastering form of 4 different exercises today. We did some push, we did some pull. Some exercises are really, really fundamental for that overall upper body strength and just your daily activities that we do all the time, okay? So I hope you enjoyed today's mastering form workout. If you have any questions about any of the exercises that you saw, or any exercises at all that you really want some help kind of breaking down or some tips on, please let me know. That's what I'm here for. You can email me directly at fitness@livia.com. And I can't wait to see you again soon. We're going to do some exercises with the ball and different other things, so that way we can kind of work through mastering form and being safe when you work out. See you again soon.